But thanks so much, everyone, for calling in today and making time to join us on this community hangout. We're really excited to have Jack, Qiu and Gigi Lo joining us all the way from Hong Kong, where it's currently 11 p.m. So bravo for staying up this late to do a community call with us. We're really happy to have you guys. And some of you are familiar with these calls, but we are trying to do these about every 3 to 4 weeks to just kind of bring together different speakers, different people who are working on platform co-ops in different parts of the world on different issues. So we thought it would be really great to bring Jack and Gigi here to kind of give a perspective from Hong Kong and Asia. And we just had our 2018 conference there. And so we heard a little bit about them at the conference, but are also really excited. And Trevor's holding up a poster of the cover for our 2018 conference, which was awesome. We had 300 people there from all over the world, so many different countries, so many different projects. So it was great. I will just quickly run through the agenda for today to give everyone a sense of what we're going to do, and then we can get started. So I will hand it over to Trevor in just a little bit, and he can talk a little bit about our platform co-op development kit and what we're working on there, and also introduce Jack and Gigi and give a little bit more of a biography of them. And then we'll turn it over to Jack and Gigi, who will talk for maybe 10 to 15 minutes about what their projects are and what they're working on. And then we'll open it up for Q&A. So if you guys, if there's something that's really interesting to you or something that really stands out to you, just make a note of it. And then in the Q&A, we can take a look at that. Also, just a few quick notes. If everyone could keep their microphone on mute until you have a question, that would be great, just so the background noise doesn't interfere with the speakers and we can easily hear people. And it's also very easy to just unmute yourself when you have a question. And then also, it's kind of been a cool thing we've been doing is just putting a little biography of ourselves in the chat feature so that everyone on the call can kind of get a sense of who else is in the room. And feel free to put links to like LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter or whatever you want to kind of share, so that people who are in the call can, you can actually, I think you can download the chat after the call and kind of save all the links. You don't have to, even if you don't have time on the call to look at them, you can look at them later. And then also, I just wanted to mention these, you'll see the little recording. Well, at least on mine, I see the little recording button in the top left corner flashing. So these calls are recorded and we'll put them on YouTube. So if you don't want to be, if you don't want to have your video on, that's totally fine. You know, feel free to turn off your video. That's no problem. We won't be offended. So yeah, I think I will turn it over to Trevor now, and he can talk a little bit about what we're working on, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, hi everybody. So I'm Trevor Schultz here at the New School at the PCC, the Platform Co-op Consortium. And for those of you who haven't joined these calls before, I'm looking at the list of participants and a few new faces. So maybe to give a bit of background, I just pasted in the chat the link to our blog. So there you can find you know, a description of the Platform Co-op Development Kit, an overview of what we've done in 2018. Maybe, Michael, can you post that actually, like the link to the
Sure.
overview of what we've been up to in 18? And so we are still working on the development kit, mostly focusing with the prototype of the software with the group in India now, in Ahmedabad, SEVA, which is a federation of cooperatives that we are building with them together, and the IDRC that Michael already mentioned, a platform for beauty services where women basically go to people's houses and deliver services like hair cutting and threading, etc. So at the same time, we are also working right now to write narratives for the kit in which we engage the various different stakeholders, from co-ops to unions to people who want to convert to a platform co-op, and we get those emails and phone calls quite often. So we try to write narratives that then on the website, when it relaunches, platform.coop, will give you a really clear sort of global narrative that explains to people why this makes sense to them, to their particular stakeholder group, right? Okay, so I won't talk too much about that. You can read about it. And so really excited to have Jack and Gigi here today. we met them, of course, we know Jack for a long time, a really prolific author and scholar. You can look up his books online, and maybe he can say a little bit about this as well. He just published a book on platform co-ops in Mandarin, so that you can access online as well. And he started the Platform Co-op Consortium in Hong Kong. And Gigi is basically running an amazing initiative called Translate Her. And we will hear more about that from her as well. So really excited to have both of you here, and welcome. Handing it over to Gigi or to Jack, whichever way you arranged it.
Jack first.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Trevor, for the kind introduction, and for Michael to invite us from Hong Kong. I made a very short PowerPoint, which I want to share. All right. So this is PCC-HK, and in the center of this page, you will see our website. If you go platform-hk.coop, you will see it's our main website, which is also the first Chinese language website for both the local Hong Kong activists and education sector, okay, or young people who are involved in the co-op movement, but also because being the first Chinese language website is also serving a larger Chinese language community in Taiwan and mainland China. And another function, in addition to supporting local and Greater China, okay, the Chinese societies, PCC initiatives, we also hope to function as a hub of networking among different Asian platform co-ops, and also globally connecting with you guys. This is our Chinese language book, and we even have a cat. Okay, and actually, that's my colleague Terence Yuan's cat, and Terence Yuan and I, we are together. We are both the co-founder of PCC-HK, and this cat is making this book, I think, more attractive among the young people as well. So this is the conference that Trevor just mentioned. Okay, Michael was there, as was Gigi. I'm not sure whether other participants now, you were here last September, and this was on the campus of Chinese University of Hong Kong, and this was a site of the 1970s student movement. In the middle, we have this marble, okay, monument on which it says in Chinese characters, 劳动光荣 means glory to labor. Okay, so this is a 1970s movement, and we had more than 100 people standing around it, and the conference theme is called "Sowing the Seeds." So that's how we evaluate the PCC movement in Hong Kong and in Asia as a region. Is we are still only in the very initial stage to sow the seeds, okay, and into this fertile grounds that we had, since the 70s at least, and also on the ground you see the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals from the UN, that was brought to us by a local activist. So before the PCC, we also had a co-opathon. So this is hackathon for co-ops, and in order to prepare for this co-opathon in Hong Kong, we actually did 5 preparatory panels in Taiwan, in mainland China, and in Hong Kong, involving 3 dozens of co-ops and techies and geeks, okay, and organizations. So so together with the other Asian participants from Japan, Korea, Turkey, India, Indonesia, okay, you name it. Many Asian countries sent their participants to us in Hong Kong in September. Together, we got almost 50, I would say 50 groups involved for the conference and also for our co-opathon. And but then these co-ops, some of them are traditional mutual help, mutuals or co-ops. Some of them are very big, okay, and national organizations in Indonesia, for example. Okay, but then they're digitizing. They're using digital platforms as a way to expand their influence and business. A second type are geeks and techies who want to do coding. Okay, for example, on this slide you can see most of these are coders. Okay, they are developing their codes, and so they want to start their platform co-op from more of a technical background. But we also have freelancers who want to demand their own organization. So this is a characteristic from in both Hong Kong and Greater Asia. And I would say if we use a very stringent standard to define platform co-ops, then very few of these traditional co-ops, or newly technology-based groups would qualify as platform co-ops 100%. But many of them are moving towards that direction. And so it's still a very dynamic process we are seeing now of sowing the seeds. And since the last conference in Hong Kong in September, I traveled to Singapore, Indonesia, and Vietnam, and also mainland China. And then based on my own observations, we put a little snowflakes here because I think it's Trevor's that every platform co-op is a snowflake. Okay, so these are Asian snowflakes, and they share these characteristics that many of them have their roots in the 20th century anti-colonial, anti-imperialist labor movement in various Asian societies. But then because of platformization of the economy and society, the working people are facing new existential threats. So that's why they come together to create. Some of them are very creative. I would translate for her that Gigi will be talking about as a very creative solution for these new problems. But in the regional context. And there are lots of variation. Indonesia is so different from Vietnam, for example. I'm not going to elaborate in detail here, but most of the co-ops or platform organizations aspiring to become platform co-ops are small. They assume a mode of existence that I call amphibian. Means they are sometimes in the formal economy, oftentimes in the informal economy. Remember Vietnam. 80% of the national economy is actually informal sector. So and in Hong Kong we have a very backward co-op law. In order to be legally co-op, and a formal entity is almost impossible for platform co-op. So people are using informal ways. So they don't call themselves co-ops, but then they still practice. They use one member, one vote, for example. And then they use high and low tech. Sometimes they use Facebook along with chat or with using WhatsApp. Sometimes they are, but more important is face-to-face interactions. But then there's not enough dialogue, which is why PCC-HK wants to facilitate this kind of dialogue within Asia and beyond. This, I think, if we use the international most stringent way to define platform co-op, this is probably the closest Hong Kong had ever have. It's called Around Neighborhood, started by single mothers in working class single mothers in Hong Kong, supported by a community mutual help organization. And when I talked about them 2 years ago in the PCC conference in New School, they were launching their app. You can see on this slide, it's called Around, Around Neighborhood. And you can see that by this is my account where I can get locksmith, I can get cleaner, repair, using this platform. However, last year, it ceased to operate. And there's not enough people using their service. And their website is still, if you read Chinese, on this on the right-hand side is their Facebook page. It's actually talking about co-ops, neighborhood co-ops. Okay, and but then so we had a very good example, but it's short-lived. Okay, because of insufficient local support. So we want to gather more local support in Hong Kong for this kind of emerging platform co-ops. They definitely need help. And the second one, I think Trevor and Gigi and Michael knew about. This is a new journalism platform, the first Chinese language journalism platform using blockchain to empower journalists and particularly important investigative journalists who do not want to have their name known by the Chinese authorities, okay, for example, or gangsters in Hong Kong. Okay, in Hong Kong, we still had gangsters attacking journalists, okay? And so this is a way they can protect their privacy, but getting income, okay? And this platform is I think it's very close to launching now. So these are just two examples, and I want to wrap up here. I think I ran out of my time. Thank you.
So it's my time, right? Yes, okay, so I will make it quick. I'm from an organization called Translate for Her. So I don't have my slide, but what we do is from these 4 boxes, we have non-Chinese people in Hong Kong and like the Indian, Pakistani, Nepalese, American, Japanese, they don't speak Chinese. However, in our environments, in local school or in the environment notices around, all of them are in Chinese. So what we do is we create a platform using what Jack mentioned, low tech. We just use WhatsApp, free of charge, and everyone will use it, know how to use it. We create WhatsApp group and adding those non-Chinese ladies. We are doing women's work, so ladies into the group. And also Chinese volunteers who can read and write Chinese and English into the same group. So whenever non-Chinese ladies who want translation, they just take a picture, for example, school notices, send it to the group, and whoever are free to translate, they can say, hey, I want to do the translation, make it into voice messages or type it, then send it to the group. So very simple. By doing that, we now have 200 users, sorry, 150 users and around 200 volunteers in the platform, in the WhatsApp. And of course, we have 11 or 12 groups. So people can do this every day in daily life. And also it's free of charge. So it's kind of a platform providing efficient manpower exchange. So that's what we are doing. So I think our example is how to use a simple low-tech WhatsApp platform to exchange manpower in translating and also teaching languages. We have a group for teaching languages and also circulating community information that's non-Chinese cannot get access to because of the language barrier. So I think because of the time limits, I will stop here. And if you are interested in my project and want to ask for more questions, you're free to do it in the Q&A section.
Thank you so much, Jack and Gigi. And maybe we can open it up for questions and any sort of discussions people kind of want to open based on what Jack and Gigi talked about, or dive into a particular aspect of any part of their work.
Jack, I was curious about, you said you talked about the failure of this one platform. And I was curious about, like you said, there wasn't enough support. What does this mean? And like, what was the ownership structure of this platform? And like, what kind of support? Wasn't it enough financial support? Were they under-resourced? Was it a governance issue? Was there just not enough interest? I mean, in terms of the service they offered, maybe this was just not the service that really worked in Hong Kong?
I think the service, I had high hopes for it. Okay, actually, it was my colleague, Julie Chen, interviewed them. And the founder, the main person there is Anthony, who had a technical background. They also had support from 公益金, or what is Gigi? What is like? It's like public charity fund. Yeah, public charity fund. So it's a semi-government foundation, and that gave them funding to start this mutual help. Okay, so these are for working class single mothers. Hong Kong is, despite its high income, okay, but the Hong Kong still now has very problematic. We do not have maximum, legal maximum work hours. So if you're a single mother and if you work in pizza, or McDonald's, okay, you can work easily 12 hours, okay, a day, okay, in order to make ends meet. Then there's not enough people. So we're talking about, I would say, potentially, okay, hundreds of thousands of single mothers, okay, that who need, especially take their, but Hong Kong also have very long life expectancy. Okay, Hong Kong surpassed Japan to have the old people live into 80s, 90s. Okay, so these single mothers do not have the number one need is to take the senior citizens from the working class household to hospitals. So they developed a hotline system using just a spreadsheet, Excel, to match the needs, and then people who lost their job or who are taking their seniors to the hospital can also take other seniors. So that's how it's, so that need is there. But then there's not enough support. Is okay. Number one, I don't think the public charity foundation see this new app as essential. Okay, they think the old way of so according to Anthony from our interview, that they don't have financial support, so they were just experimenting with it. But then even though they have developed the app, they started it, and also from what you just saw from my screen catch, they are not specializing in their main business is actually senior hospital visits. Okay, we call it 陪診 in Hong Kong, but they try to diversify to get more, but then they don't have enough business for these others. Like I tried, I was moving apartments. I tried to use that. There was one about cleaning, but I couldn't get people responding. So there's not enough, service provider on their platform. There's not enough funding. Okay, the foundation did not want to open another, give them another year of funding. And then there's not enough, I think, in certain districts of Hong Kong, people think we can just do it with old hotline system rather than this automatic. So there's not enough support, or means money, means service providers on their platform, but also means market, okay, demand, and the people who actually use them. Yeah, so I think it's several things.
The Nesta Foundation in the UK in London just published a report yesterday, a 44-page long paper in which they put themselves behind platform co-ops. So basically said that, like they want to support this. And then the main piece of this paper, which we will republish very soon, has a quite interesting finance model, Jack, where they talk about the community shares model that is quite common in the UK. And so they want to start a platform co-op investment fund of £1 million and have one project already, Equal Care Cooperative, that they want to concretely support with that fund first. And yeah, it's complicated, but it's we will publish this details about this very soon, so that there will be another model, I guess, to solve this capital conundrum.
Mm-hmm. Yes, maybe if we can find I would say some resources for around neighborhood, I can talk to Anthony, and see whether they want to relaunch it. I think they already got a beautifully designed platform, but the thing is, getting the other resources behind it.
Right.
Thanks. Yeah, let me definitely learn more about this new development in the UK. Any other questions, or do you guys want me to show off our Chinese language website?
I had a question for Gigi and just kind of learning more about the model of Translate for Her. And so it sounds like, I guess I'm just curious to know like what your hopes and aspirations are for Translate for Her in terms of growth and how many people you're trying to get involved in it. And then also how, so it sounds like the reason why people do it is because they kind of want to help people in the community kind of get adjusted to life in Hong Kong. And is there a way that is the incentive primarily altruistic, or is there how do people who are spending time translating receive a reward, if at all, and is that a kind of part that you're thinking about in the future for Translate for Her? Just kind of maybe thinking about like what sort of business aspect there might be to Translate for Her in the future, and I would love to hear more about that.
What we are aiming at is not for profits, so not doing business, but in the sense of doing for non-profits work, people can build up relationship. Because in Hong Kong, the different ethnic groups, they are quite segregated. Like if for a common ordinary Chinese person, he or she may not even have a chance to know for people who are non-Chinese. So through this community, emphasizing for not monetary reward, but you're just helping people, and people really thanks you. Because I guess 10 years before, Hong Kong government changed the education policy. So in the past, all the non-Chinese kids, they are segregated in other schools. They do not need to face the Chinese environment. Also, the parents did not need to. But now, because kids, they go into local school, so parents, they struggle with all those Chinese characters. And so Chinese people, they need to know what's the impacts of those policy, and also knowing other people. So I think through this Translate for Her project, our main aim is build community, that people have a chance to know each other, get in touch with each other, not only online, but we also have offline activities. For example, like matching up people to learn each other's language and culture, and have offline activity hanging out together. So in order to deepen each other's understanding of the culture and also other things, also needs. So not only that, but we also want to tell the hidden story of ladies and women whose need, and also there's a special situation because of the gender role is not heard or understood by the mainstream society. So we also go to the legislative council and government, writing newspaper story, Facebook stories. So the hidden stories can be uncovered.
That's awesome. Thank you for elaborating.
Thank you.
More questions from anyone who's joined us who hasn't asked a question yet?
Yeah, I had a quick one for actually both participants. I'm hearing that there want a lot of service providers on the cooperative that Jack was talking about, and then Translate for Her, it seems like there's a bunch of people coming in and volunteering their time basically for social capital, sounds like. Yeah. What I'm curious about is, what is the platform cooperativism advocacy walk look like on the ground in Hong Kong and Asia as a whole? Like, how are you getting this out to people and involving them?
Maybe Gigi, you can go first. I want to. We have many different things I want to put in to get it more organized first. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I want to clarify the question. Are you asking for how platform co-op can turn into advocacy work? Is it what the question is?
No, rather, how are you advocating platform cooperativism?
Or how you get volunteers to
yeah, how are you getting the word out? How do you convince people that this is
promote
they should be part of? So, to kind of answer this question that Mike is posed implicitly by the cooperative Jack was talking about, that they don't have enough people involved as own-ops.
Oh, yeah. So. Okay, I will share my experience. I think that people love this idea of just can help others, and also being helped, share what they have, no matter information, translation, their ability, social capital accumulation. When our story go to media, then people know us, how to contact us through WhatsApp and Facebook. So a lot of people register. So I think Hong Kong people, or not only Hong Kong people, but people overseas who know the language, they just attracted naturally by the idea of using WhatsApp as the platform, and you're not bounded by the time and also the location, and can help even in different time zone to share what they have. Then that's what we do. We use the social media and also the traditional media to tell our story, tell the meanings, and how they can contribute easily through the platform. That's all I did.
Maybe Jack, thank you so much. Maybe Jack, maybe you can link this a little bit. When we had talked in September, you had discussed a bit the history of cooperatives in Hong Kong, which is quite complicated, right? And not always so positive, if I remember. That there's a very strong solidarity economy. In a way, like translate for her, it sounds is in fact like a solidarity economy commons project, right? And so I think there's a sort of connection there that maybe you can elucidate. And maybe this also gets at Colin's question, right? About how to pick people up where they are, right? Because I think this seems to be very strong there.
Yes. So on the one hand, we had a long tradition of solidarity economy or social economy, more generally, social enterprise. So I think we were very proud. Okay, all our food and drinks for the conference and events in Hong Kong were supplied by local co-ops. Okay, and female women co-ops. But if you look at the legal regime, they are actually just registered as a social enterprise, not as a co-op, because Hong Kong, this is part of the British legal system legacy. Basically, you can, according to the current legislative system, legal system, you can only have fishermen or farmers co-op or housing co-op. Housing co-op is mostly only for the government officials. So it's very hard to be legally registered as a co-op. But we have female worker co-op. Anyway, they operate according to one member, one vote. They provide livelihoods. Okay, but then they say co-op is our brand name. Okay, it's not a legal meaning. So most of these co-ops, okay, social enterprises, actually they would receive directly or indirectly government subsidies. Okay. But I think this is a common thing I would see in Taiwan, in Indonesia, in Japan, in many Asian countries, because after the post-colonial, okay, the independence, okay, this is basically the post-war consensus, okay, when Asia was emerging, the local governments, the so-called newly industrialized nations invest in these social enterprises to support them. Okay, and so in that way, there's a good ground where we are sowing the seeds into. Okay? But then that ground it is very, very fertile, but it is getting old. So many of the people, like I think Michael met a lady as a co-op leader from Taiwan. I think she's almost 80. Okay, and then she's very worried about our generation, the wisdom we had accumulated. Okay, but how can we pass this down to the younger generation? Okay, and now younger generation are using digital media all the time. So if we don't use digital, we cannot get to the young people. So for us, to answer your excellent question, we saw the conference itself. Okay, the PCC conference in September was a very important, energizing, and moment of advocacy for us. So before the conference, we did the co-opathon, And we deliberately designed, this is with Huang Sun Quan, our Taiwanese colleague, we designed 5 preparatory panels to select co-ops to come from. We are flying them in from Taiwan, from mainland China to Hong Kong, and also selecting so in every one of these 5 preparatory panels, we involved about 10, okay, almost 10 co-ops. So that's also a way to tell the co-ops how to talk to techies, okay, talk to hackers. So that's part of the within the social movements. So and after the cooperation, we also have funds to support. So if if you know about hackathons, so at the end they made some demos. So we want the demos to be actually used. So there's a follow-up. So this is I would call this internal advocacy to the co-ops. Okay. And then we had external public advocacy to the general public. We are doing one book launch of our Chinese book, okay, next week in Wan Chai district in downtown Hong Kong, and then in next month we are doing another is an edited volume by one of our law school colleagues, Angela Daly. It's called The Good Data. Okay, so this is from legal, but also there's a new book out. It's English language book. Okay, but then so we're going to do book launches. We are working with IT company called Shanzhai City now. So this is in addition to the co-op sector, to the general public, we're also targeting the corporate world, especially IT companies, and the main person. Trevor and Michael know him as Ted Lam. Okay, he's an anthropologist, but he works in refugee camps and rural communities in Asia, in Southeast Asia, and in China. He so he and Terence are talking about starting a new data commons. So there are lots of technological capacity there that we are hoping this will be a basic infrastructure for the social economy. But basically we're reaching out to corporations, okay, but these are not any corporation. These are progressively minded corporations who want to serve the rural or refugee camp population. And finally we are reaching out to large organizational players, okay, like the I think it's called the Federation of Social Organizations. So this is one umbrella organization that have more than 300 NGOs, NPOs, social enterprises. Okay, and then they have a social enterprise fund, and then we are talking to them to allocate. Okay, so this is one part, and second is we are now also talking to the Hong Kong Confederation of Trade Unions. It's a very large trade union. I am a member of one of the unions that belong to this HKCTU. Okay, and so they are very experienced in social struggles and political movements, and more importantly is they just finished it and they're a new line of work with regard to precarious work and youth in Hong Kong. Okay, so they internally they have dedicated, so they're studying this, and in order to push, okay, this is a independent labor union, not controlled by Beijing. Okay, so we are operating at these several levels, okay, within the co-op movement, with progressive corporations, trade unions, or large social organizations, and to the general public. Maybe you can have better ideas or other suggestions we should consider trying.
No, I mean, that all sounds amazing. I think the only thing I'm thinking about from the aspect of the one example you gave previously is how do you basically get people to apply for the job? When you have a co-op and, whether you're creating a new platform and it's a driverless co-op like Uber, or well, not being a co-op, but or a, service co-op in any way. It's how do you get people to show up and apply for the job and be like, yeah, this is where I want to work. This has better benefits than working anywhere else, and make that really a competitive option as an employer. I think that's something individually co-ops need to be thinking about as well. The advocacy work you're doing really sounds incredible, and it's good to hear that there's so much going on there.
Thanks.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe we have time for one more question from someone we haven't heard of before we wrap up. I don't want to keep Jack and Gigi up past midnight in Hong Kong. So maybe we have time for one more question from someone we haven't heard from yet.
Hi, here's Manuela from Berlin. I'm working, helping, building different platform co-ops at the moment, and I'm wondering if there are some sort of kind of patterns. You guys that are more experienced with being in contact with platform co-ops or helping to building those as well, some sort of patterns of success and as well as of failure. Something what you see, oh, if there's this skill in the team, then it's more likely to turn out to something, or something that goes into that direction. Some general tips, maybe that come from China, but maybe they're more universal too.
Okay, I have some very tentative observations, and which could be completely wrong. Okay, but let me just put this on the table. It's based on my very limited and also unscientific observations. Okay, episodes. I think if this platform co-op is led centrally, of course the co-ops should be democratically governed. But usually, there are people who are more centrally involved, and if the central figures, or sometimes in Asia we sometimes see it's just one central figure. Okay, if that central figure or central figures are from a technical background, they're more likely to fail. Okay, but then if they are actually from co-ops, okay, or from a non-technical background, I think the chance of longevity would be higher. And the second, very incomplete. So I think it's not a coincidence. Okay, Gigi is with us. I think when the central figures are female, or maybe Trevor will disagree with me. I should disagree with myself. I think we should have more female as the central. I'm not kidding though. Yeah.
Yeah, the first question about the obligation, how people apply to do the co-op, it's a very interesting question. Even though our project is not business, we don't have employers and employee. So we also face the same problem that a lot of people join into the community and also the platform. However, not all of them were actively involved in the service or in the community. But what tricky is that we found that even people sometimes keep silence or don't help or send messages to the group, but they don't quit. So I think communities like this, people not always are that active. So staying silent there, observing, or even maybe they have their life stage. At the moment they are busy, next moment they may be available, then they are able to join again. So having this group of people who are interested in certain issues is beautiful. Then we have the patience, we cultivate the land, and the flower will grow finally.
I have a question. It's Abraham here. You have, how large is the group? Did you find that you had to get to a certain level of growth to where you had enough people available? And my point I'm driving to is, how long does it take for translation to happen? Because I'm kind of concerned about the person at the bus stop and they're trying to get it translated and the bus is coming, and like, is there any real-time translation, or does this take half an hour on average? Does it take, 3 hours? What's the lag time?
It depends.
Sorry.
It depends. Hi.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that on my camera.
No problem. If it's an easy task, for example, sometimes we really need an instant translation. For example, the lady want to tell the taxi driver, usually taxi drivers, they can't speak English.
Yeah.
Want to tell them the address, or the hairdresser also, I want to cut in this way or that way. Then
Sure.
at this time, people need instant translation. However, this instant translation would be easy. Just take me less than a minute to record it, send it out, and they can get the translation. So
less than a minute. Okay.
Less than a minute. However, very long school notices. Sometimes we'll send pages. Then it may take a night, because sometimes they send it late or at night, that we all be away from the computer. So and however, people would say that this is not an urgent task. Usually they can return the reply slip within days. So volunteers can just say, I can finish it maybe next day in the morning for you. So can you wait for me? Okay, so it depends on the complexity of the job.
Wow. So you have a way of them notifying the urgency level.
Yes. So the volunteers and users, they build up a common understanding how to make the communication better.
Wow. Because if you can get it under a minute, that's remarkable for like
sometimes
the real person scenario of like, this is a small thing I need to have help with. Wow. That's amazingly powerful. Okay. I said, no, and you were talking about social capital earlier. Is there any sort of short or long-term thought process to actually allowing people to get paid on this, or are you always thinking through this will always be volunteers? That's all we do.
At the moment, we want to keep it volunteer. Because at the beginning, we thought of a payment system, like rewarding people who do translation or share their skills. However, one of our mentors said that if you keep it volunteer, non-pay, people give their real hearts to serve. And sometimes it's more helpful, or can build a community more, have the bonding built established. That's what we want to do. Make it simple, without the interest relationship.
Sure. No, it's a fascinating model. I'm all for it. I think you're doing great work. I just was curious to know if there was another tier after that of paid work. But this is great. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Cool. And maybe just with respect to time, I think we might want to wrap it up here. And if Jack and Gigi, you wanted to share your contact information in the chat, that might be a good way. If you haven't already, I can't quite see right now, but that might be a good way for people to follow up with you and be in touch with more questions, or connect with you offline and set up a meeting perhaps. But thank you guys so much for coming to join us today. And thank you, Gigi and Jack, especially for making time and staying up late to join us. And thank you to everyone who's on the call right now and who joined us and is here listening and learning about platform co-ops in Asia. So we will tweet out soon our next community hangout, which I think is on March 11th, which is a Monday. And we will be excited to have you back here if you can join us again.
I just want to add a quick last note, which is that so in early March, there will be the first Platform Co-op conference in Sweden. And then later in the year, I put in the chat, there's our conference in November 7 to 9, where we all hope to see you in person. On April 22nd, we will launch the Institute, Research Institute, focusing on the cooperative digital economy here at the New School with 6 fellows. So we start a fellowship program. Jack is one of our members of the Council of Advisors. And in September, there will be a Platform Co-op conference in Tokyo in Japan, and many other events. So I just want to add that.
Thank you, everyone. If by any chance you are coming to Asia or Hong Kong, let us know.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Great to see you all. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Gigi. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.